So it looks like we will not be getting justice for the death of Shanquella Robinson.
Feds are going to release their results of their autopsy, that the Mexican autopsy says there's a spinal cord injury, but according to them, there is no spinal cord injury.
Finally, the Robinson family has found an oracle to express their grievances. A lawyer assigned to the case of Shanquella's gruesome demise has spoken loud and clear against the U.S. autopsy report of the unfortunate occurrence, and fans are beginning to wonder who is lying about what. Watch till the end of the video and you may be shocked by what the lawyer said. The Justice Department announced that it will not pursue federal prosecution of anyone in connection with the death of Shanquella Robinson in Mexico last fall and is expected. The public is furious. To make matters seem worse, the DOJ officials claim that after investigating the young woman's passing, the evidence does not support prosecution by the U.S. Attorney's Office. As in every case under consideration, for federal prosecution, the government must prove, beyond a reasonable doubt, that a federal crime was committed, a statement from DOJ states. Based on the results of the autopsy and after a careful deliberation and review of the investigative materials by both U.S. attorneys' offices, federal prosecutors informed Ms. Robinson's family today that the available evidence does not support a federal prosecution. Meanwhile, the evidence in question is the viral video that everyone has concluded will close the case and serve justice immediately. But everyone thought wrong as the U.S. federal government said a big no. Apparently, Shanquella's family and their legal team reject the DOJ's decision, saying the U.S. authorities never treated the case with urgency and needed to be pushed before making it a priority. We're witnessing the result of a delay, which is why there was always a concern, which is why I always say, this is the people's case, attorney Sue-Ann Robinson said. This is the people's movement that said, hey, there's no reason why a black woman should go on vacation with her friends, be returned to her family in a box.
That black women, black and brown victims of crime have to do this every time they are victims of crimes, but it is unfortunately what it is. And again,
but that wasn't the only thing the U.S. officials couldn't get right. As you may already know, Shanquella traveled with a group of 6 friends to Cabo, Mexico in October 2022. While vacationing, the 25-year-old mysteriously died. Originally, her travel companions alleged the woman died as a result of alcohol poisoning. Weeks after she died, a violent and disturbing video began circulating online showing Shanquella being beaten in what appeared to be the luxury villa she was vacationing at when she died. Her family was told she passed from alcohol poisoning, but according to an autopsy conducted in Mexico, which was made public by the Robinson family attorneys, Shanquella died of atlas and medullary dislocation, a broken neck and spine, and her manner of death was violent. Who is lying? Then, as a result, various stories surrounding what happened to Shanquella were not consistent with the findings of the Mexican medical examiner. According to an autopsy performed in Cabo after her demise, she did not die from an excess of alcohol but from severe spinal cord injury, an atlas luxation. This, coupled with a video leaked on social media of Shanquella being savagely beaten by one of the travelers, prompted the family to pursue murder charges. Despite the evidence provided by the Mexican authorities, U.S. officials state the evidence they've collected, including an autopsy conducted in Mecklenburg County, does not support pressing criminal charges being brought in an American court. The investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of Ms. Robinson has been a priority for federal prosecutors and the FBI. The DOJ's announcement read, "The death of Ms. Robinson has been incredibly difficult for her family and the community. As a matter of policy, federal officials generally do not issue public statements concerning the status of an investigation. However, given the circumstances of Ms. Robinson's death and the public concern surrounding this investigation, it is important to reassure the public that experienced federal agents and seasoned prosecutors extensively reviewed the available evidence and have concluded that federal charges cannot be pursued." The audacity? Well, in search of the truth for Shanquella's family, the lawyers traveled to Mexico on a fact-finding mission, and they suggested the information provided by the Mexican government is enough for the DOJ to act. And honestly, the public agrees. The attorneys, Robinson and Benjamin Crump, laid out legal options the federal government could pursue in the case in a recent letter to President Joe Biden. The legal team said if a U.S. citizen commits homicide in Mexico and returns home, they can face criminal charges in the states under federal law or state law, depending on the circumstances of the crime. Federal charges are brought in cases where the crime involves interstate commerce or federal law enforcement agencies. We know in a transnational case where evidence was possibly transported and persons of interest communicated with each other via cell phone, federal charges could be brought against those responsible for Shanquella's death. The letter says, also, Sue-Ann Robinson believes that a delay in transporting the body led to discrepancies in the case. However, she questioned federal authorities' disregard of the video showing a vicious and brutal attack, adding that the Department of State officials put out a statement in response to the case before an investigation was launched. Besides, the video gave a clear explanation of Shanquella's autopsy report. Unfortunately, the U.S. Department of Justice released a statement that reads, "Experienced federal agents and seasoned prosecutors extensively reviewed the available evidence and have concluded that federal charges cannot be pursued." Clearly, the U.S. officials are standing their ground that the United States won't file charges in the case. But Shanquella's lawyers won't take no for an answer. Let's see how the netizens have reacted. A social media user wrote, "No lawyer can help plead their case where evidence is being shown clearly that the Cabo 6 is responsible for Shanquella Robinson's death." Another added, "How are you trying to justify someone's murder? Even common sense would tell you what led to Shanquella Robinson's death." Twitter lawyers added. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice's press release states a separate autopsy was conducted in the U.S., but it does not go into detail about what the results were. So, could this mean there is something the U.S. officials want to keep hush-hush about? Interestingly, Sue-Ann said according to the Department of Justice, the autopsy done in the U.S. did not show a spinal injury like the autopsy conducted in Mexico showed.
Autopsy, which was done after the body was embalmed and then transported.
She also said the cause of death from the U.S. autopsy is undetermined. Her attack was captured on video and now we are being told there won't be an arrest. She continued, "It reminded me of George Floyd, when we were told we weren't seeing what we were seeing."
And how we were told that while we were watching with our own eyes, Derek Chauvin putting his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
And although Shanquella's lawyers have informed the U.S. government that it is a crime under the U.S. Constitution to murder a U.S. citizen in a foreign country, the FBI has not called Shanquella's death a murder. But the Mexican authorities have called her death a femicide, a gender-based murder and hate crime. According to the Robinson family attorneys, and Mexican law enforcement issued an arrest warrant for one of Shanquella's travel companions. So, could there be a light at the end of this dark tunnel? The statement ends by stating that if new information about the case arises, the government is prepared to review it. "We're disappointed, but we're not deterred," the Robinson family attorney Sue-Ann Robinson said during a press conference live-streamed by WSOC. "It's not something that's unexpected. Black and brown people have always had to carve their own path to justice, and we've been doing that since the beginning." Sue-Ann then compared Shanquella's mother to Ahmaud Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, who fought for justice for her son after he was murdered. She's having to bury a child, grieve for a child, and then fight for justice for her child at the same time, Sue-Ann said. Sue-Ann also said that Shanquella's case was not taken seriously since the beginning, which has caused discrepancies in the investigation. "Today we ended up with way more questions than answers," Sue-Ann added. "We stand with this family and we're going to stand with this family until the very end." Sue-Ann previously told People, Shanquella was an educated, vibrant, ambitious entrepreneur that really had a caring heart, and she went on a vacation and was returned home in a box. No one should have to spend their last moments the way that she did. Hopefully, the case will be resolved and the culprits will face the wrath of law. Now that all hands are on deck, it sure feels like justice is near. See you next time for more information.